I could easily now come out and go to a lawyer and sue him.
Mm.
I could easily do that. Yeah, because it's a total lie. Everything he said's a total lie. I just think he should apologise. I think he should have apologised at the time. Don't have to apologise to me. Apologise to my kids and my wife because you lied.
The civil war behind the scenes at GB News over Tommy Robinson has exploded into the public view today after a bombshell forced apology from one of the broadcaster's resident lefties after he was allowed to spread a series of false smears on a show hosted by Patrick Christys. Now, you'll remember Tommy quickly branded the guy a lying twerp, and now he has had to make a grovelling, full-throttled and actually quite hilarious apology. So let's look at what Andy 12 said. So first he tweeted or posted on X, following a comment made during a recent broadcast, I am issuing the statement below to formally apologise and correct the record in relation to Tommy Robinson. He copied him in. Then here's the more detailed statement. During a recent television appearance on GB News' Patrick Christys' Late Edition, I made a comment that I now understand was inaccurate and misleading about Tommy Robinson. I recognise that this statement was not a fair or accurate representation of Mr. Robinson's publicly stated views. I regret the error and apologise unreservedly for the mischaracterisation. Now, always the gent, Tommy responded, apology accepted, Andy. I don't blame people for the warped view they have about who I am. I blame over a decade of media lies. He went on, I actually accept this man's apology, as this is the view that legacy media and politicians have presented about me for decades, painting a false picture of me to the world. At the beginning of my activism, they brought me onto their platforms thinking I was an idiot and couldn't back up my opinions. And since I demolished them every time, they had me removed from everywhere. Then Tommy used the moment to publicly challenge Nigel Farage, star presenter at GB News, where the civil war has been raging, as I reported earlier in the week, to do the right thing and correct his disgusting lies about Tommy while he was locked in solitary at HMP Woodhill. He wrote, while in prison on solitary, Nigel Farage lied on LBC, claiming I had a conviction for violence on women. Disgusting. Andy 12's apologised today for lies about me on GB News. Are you man enough to correct your lie and apologise? #truth matters. So before we get into much more of what Tommy Robinson has said about Nigel Farage, I want to show you what Andy 12's was allowed to say on air by GB News. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
Running away and denying the recommendations. I think Leo actually raised a really good point that, as a man of the left, it is quite easy to get insular. And if you see people like, your man Tommy Robinson talking about it, he was one of the big guys shouting about it. But then he'd also put something heinous on the back end of it. So it's quite easy to dismiss. So I think a lot of people on the left did just see nutters like Tommy talking about it.
Heinous on it, because I've not really seen anything that he said that, was particularly...
He wants to ban Islam, which is...
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen anything I disagree with.
No, come on. Tommy Robinson is objectively a racist man that hates Muslims.
What did he say? What did he say that's racist?
Oh, heinous things about all brown people. He calls all brown people perverts.
Man, how come he's got so many brown mates?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. What?
I mean, he works alongside, brown people. I don't understand. I know there's a lot of, there's certainly a lot of...
He doxed a 14-year-old brown lad, accused him of heinous things that he hadn't done. That lad had to go into witness protection. Like, he's done heinous things. He used to beat up police officers. He's done immigration fraud. He nicked a load of money off his fundraising supporters. He's a bad guy.
I think we're just straying into quite dicey legal territory here when it comes to Tommy.
Well, about time, Patrick Christys, because there are about 5 or 6 completely false claims that were made before you stepped in. Congratulations, though, to Leo Kurz for at least being prepared to have the debate. But I have to say, Patrick Christys, along with Camilla Tominey, is responsible for a series of false claims made by GB News presenters about Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson in this loose role as advisor on grooming gangs. A, what advice do you need on grooming gangs? B, do you want that advice coming from a man like Tommy Robinson? It's not a good look for the party whatsoever. Frankly, it's not a good look for society, and I do really think this just demonstrates, actually, that there is an undercurrent, not this subtle level of racism that's been levelled at UKIP in the past. I think you could argue that this is now much more overt.
Elon Musk doesn't quite seem to understand who Tommy Robinson is and what he represents, which is a misunderstanding that is sometimes seen across the pond, you know, Americans and Canadians thinking that Tommy Robinson is some kind of, you know, misunderstood folklore figure, when in fact he's a convicted criminal and white supremacist who hasn't really done much. In fact, he's currently serving a sentence for contempt of court.
White supremacist, disgusting from Camilla Tominey. But now there is a huge row within GB News as presenters including Michelle Dewberry and Ben Leo go on the record to say that Tommy Robinson deserves a public apology over the rape gang scandal, while management and Nigel Farage remain vociferously opposed to uncancelling the UK's political prisoner, fearful of the impact on advertisers and Reform UK, respectively. But Tommy isn't backing down, making this open call to the station. Would be helpful if GB News just allowed me to defend myself against the continued lies told about me on many of their programmes, saying that I am grateful to some of the show's hosts who challenge their lies. And his friend and podcaster Liam Tufts backed him up, adding, they'll have to buckle to their play it safe broadcast soon, as too many people want to see you on there. Time to grab nuts, GB News, and go where others fear to tread. You're the people's channel, remember. Indeed, in the bombshell new episode of Liam's excellent podcast, The Dozen, Tommy has spoken publicly and in detail for the first time of the damage caused to him psychologically and reputationally by Nigel Farage, who used that incredible Elon Musk moment back in January, which brought his case to the world's attention to try and destroy him.
It's going to know, yeah? The most powerful government in the world is going to know what's going on. And then they rolled out Nigel Farage. And then I felt sick as I listened to the comments Farage was making. He's going to get to America and he's going to fill them in on about me. And for some reason, look, I don't want to waste my time getting into loggerheads with Nigel Farage. I've tried, as you saw at the United Kingdom rally, to make a point to Nigel saying, we're not your enemy. In fact, these are your supporters for reform. Yeah? I don't know why he keeps attacking us. It's like each time, if they could use anyone who might have a bit of a base within the Patriots to discredit me, it would have been Nigel Farage. They rolled him out massively at that time. And he come out, and I don't know whether maybe he's bought the bullshit. Maybe he believes the media. Maybe he does. Maybe he believes all those things. But so then I felt sick. So I went from high up here to them feeling sick, thinking now he's going to ruin it and he's going to get to America for the inauguration and he's going to discredit me and attack me. And then I heard, then Elon Musk put out the statement about Farage. And remember, do you know what's frustrating for me is, I don't want any of this. I don't want there to be a division with reform. I don't want that. I want reform to be the voice for the people. I want to run a cultural movement. That's what I want to do.
But the thing that Tommy found impossible to ignore was this interview that Nigel Farage conducted on LBC.
Tommy Robinson character, who some see as a hero. And all right, he's talked about grooming gangs and other things, although he's hardly been on his own on that, has he? I mean, I was first being condemned in 2012 for daring to talk about it.
Anne Cryer was talking in 2002.
Yeah, no, she was, she is the heroine.
20 plus years.
She's the heroine of all of this.
Yeah.
As indeed, to be fair, Andrew Norfolk, who was
the
writing for the
Times
Times,
journalist.
and Sue Reed on the Mail. There were some very brave figures early on. But when figures like myself as party leaders dared pop their head over the parapet, we were smashed back down very, very quickly. Robinson's talked about this, but he has a criminal record, a list as long as your arm. Violence against women. I could go on, Nick. Right. And all I'm saying is, look, Mr. Robinson, do what the hell you like. We are totally separate from that. And I never wanted, and you know this, you've known me long enough to know, I've never wanted my parties to have anything to do with the BNP or extremism, and I never will.
Why have they attracted people then, Mr. Farage?
So, Tommy Robinson has finally and very feistily responded to Nigel in detail, accusing him of holding up a white flag to Islam.
And I'd hoped that Nigel Farage, but then when I heard the first statement was that he's not for mass deportations. Then I heard he doesn't care about demographic replacement. Then I heard Shamina Begum can come home. Then I heard that by I watched it recently, since I've been out of jail, him saying that by 2050, the Islamic community is so big and so vast in the UK that we can't isolate Islam in any way. We need to work with them. I think, fucking hell, Nigel. That's why we need to stop it, mate. That's why we need to stop it. We can't surrender now. You're basically holding up a white flag to Islam. Oh, there's too many of them. Better give up. Better just change our culture, let them do what the fuck they want. No, we need to stop it. Yeah, that's why we're in a race against time. So when Nigel Farage put Zia Youssef, and I don't know Zia Youssef, but I very much doubt that a political party is going to be in a position to tackle the Islamisation of this country if its chairman is a follower of that Islamic ideology. I don't think, and maybe I'm being unfair here. Yeah, and again, I don't want any of this. I just wanted, but Nigel, do you know the bit that really upset me? Was a statement that was made that I have convictions for violence against women. Now, bearing in mind I'm sat in a cell, solitary confinement, and then I have to hear that my children's mother's having to make a statement because my kids are going to go to school next day and start getting told bullshit from someone like Nigel Farage on TV who's making allegations. But prior to this, I'd watched and listened as Kemi Badenoch said something about Reform's membership not being correct or something, because they had this counter on their website about how many members they were getting. And Nigel went mad about her allegation. And she must accept what she said was wrong. And then he sits on TV and says, I've got a conviction for violence against women, which there's no truth in it all. I just think, Jesus.
Tommy also clarified that he didn't ask to join Reform, while joining criticism that I have to say I've made, that Nigel is wrong to keep playing this MSM game, sitting down all the time with the likes of the British Bashing Corporation, Sly News, and even Channel 4.
Because he was insinuating that you'd asked to join Reform.
I've never asked. He's not welcome in Reform. I think I didn't ask to join Reform. Why are you on the news every day talking about me joining Reform? And why are you still acting like the media matter? Why are you sitting down? When I'm looking at them, I think, what are you sitting down on Channel 4 News for? They hate you. Fuck Channel 4 News. You don't need them anymore. You've got your own show. But you've got enough now alternative journalists and citizen journalists. But here you are attacking the citizen journalists and sitting with the mainstream. You're never going to win them unless you're doing what they want you to, unless you're acting the way they want you to act. So you're trying to think you can win over everyone and no one's going to hate you.
Tommy also reiterated his demand for Nigel to apologise.
I wasn't the first. Neither was Rupert. There's been a whole long list of them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. And again, I don't want to be disruptive amongst the right. And also, I hope one day Nigel Farage sees the error of his ways and decides to put right the wrongs he's done, because you can't be lying about people.
I could easily now come out and go to a lawyer and sue him. I could easily do that. Yeah, because it's a total lie. Everything he said's a total lie. I just think he should apologise. I think he should have apologised at the time. Don't have to apologise to me. Apologise to my kids and my wife because you lied.
Now, I have to credit Liam Tufts for such a fascinating interview. And he too, knowing what's going on behind the scenes at GB News, has now challenged the broadcaster to reverse its ban in light of a very obvious shifting of the Overton window. He wrote, "A lot of journalists and media outlets will be watching my podcast and there's things they'll hear that should be reported on, but they won't because they're cowards. I hope after watching this, GB News break the cowardice mold and invite Tommy onto their show. They'd learn a lot and see with their own eyes the importance of his work. As a dear friend, I've known the media have lied about Tommy for years. He's a threat to the establishment and the media is a weapon for the establishment. But the tide's now turned. These people are wise to the media lies. Who will be brave enough to report on tonight's interview? We'll see." Well, so far, not GB News. Now, the Superstar panel. But first, do you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected? Well, I've been increasingly thinking lately of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers online, and I'm delighted to tell you I've found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. Let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy-to-use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activity stays safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe online. It allows you access to your favourite entertainment and news shows and channels like streaming services, Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, Peacock. Or if your favourite show happens to be blocked or geo-blocked on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus, within seconds you can be watching just like you're in another country. If you're travelling for work or on holiday, you can also get all your favourite content from home, including sports. This is an insurance policy against creeping censorship in many countries. Watch anywhere, anytime. It is true freedom. And you know I'm all about freedom. A VPN can save you money too, because you know you can get the best deals from websites. Some websites actually change their prices depending on where you're buying from. So it's very helpful on that front too. And you can use Surfshark on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. And with over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, there is a world of choice at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service if this happens to be your first time using a VPN. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken and you'll get an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. What's more, Surfshark's so confident that it is the best VPN in the world. It is. I use it wherever I am. You can give it a try for a full 30 days, and if you're not entirely satisfied, your money will be returned. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. And now back, June Slater, Leilani Dowding. So, Leilani, there's a lot to pick up on there. I mean, the first thing is, how shocking was it for you to hear GB News just allow, okay, he's one of their lefty people, but to allow that guy, Andy 12s, to just parrot, like, provable lie after lie after lie after lie, to the point where Patrick Christie's finally stepped in when he said that he stole money from people. But it's a bit like, come on.
Well, having seen the way that the GB News people shout in your ear, you, Mark Stein, other GB News presenters, the moment you go slightly off the narrative that they want to push, I was really shocked that they didn't jump in immediately, especially how disparaging it is and what utter nonsense it is. And again, what you won't see is a whole barrage of Ofcom complaints, because you know what? The lefties won't be setting up those calculated, inorganic complaints that end up going to Ofcom about something that's completely wrong on GB News. So there'll be no repercussions for that. And Tommy, as you said, very graciously accepted his apology, when we know there's a lot of people like on the left who would jump straight to the nearest lawyer to go and sue, for false allegations and defamation and such. So, it's quite interesting to see, as you said, the Overton window shift, where now people seem to be able to mention his name now that the tide's turning, and now that so many people, I think, have watched his documentary and are actually doing their own research into Tommy and seeing a lot of the Americans who are freely interviewing Tommy, and that great interview with Liam Tufts, where he actually gets to put his side across. And I think that's been really important for me. I watched his interview before he went into prison with Jordan Peterson, and I learned a lot about him. Now, I've always been a vocal supporter, which is why it's upsetting to me when I saw Nigel Farage come out with those lies about him, the violence to women. I'd been to Tommy's Unite the Kingdom protest, and he never said a bad word about Nigel. He said, as we've discussed before, he never wanted to join Reform, yet Nigel kept putting this out. He's not welcome, he's not welcome. Just at that point, that was before he actually lied about Tommy, but he was still speaking badly about him. Why did he even have to do that? Why did he have to go there? Why don't you just say nothing at all? The way Tommy said nothing at all about Nigel up until now.
Indeed, and Tommy Robinson did actually endorse Reform UK before the last election. That is a fact. So why do you think GB News continues to have this ban, Leilani? Because remember, they will put on the most extreme hard leftists, the most extreme Islamists, because their argument is, well, we're providing balance.
Yeah.
But Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, no, totally banned.
Because I think they're scared of the pylon, because of these inorganic Ofcom complaints that start happening when somebody on the left starts putting these mass emails out saying, hey, this is what we've got to do. Let's call in, let's email in, let's make complaints about this show at this time with this presenter, and let's all jump on this. And it's a very orchestrated movement when the complaints start going in. You know, happened to Mark Stein, happened to you and Loza, it happened to Neil Oliver. It's not organic. And I think that GB News are pandering to this time and time again, which is why actually it's like, you know, the same reason that Piers Morgan now wants him on. Oh, now Piers wants him on because he knows it's going to bring in the viewers and he's not with Talk TV.
June, obviously you're an ally of Nigel Farage, but isn't this the time for him to accept he got it wrong? The Overton window is shifted. Tommy Robinson was completely right. Apologise, but maybe not just apologise, June, actually have him on his GB News show. Why not?
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either.
Tommy, I'm not supporting this. I've no doubt get hammered on the thread. I'm explaining why I don't think he will, because of proscription. Google it. I don't agree with it. If it was me, I would embrace Tommy to a degree. I think the one thing we have to look at here, the big enemy, whilst it looks like it's Farage, is the media. When Nigel Farage does any public speaking, any flag waving, any, you know, come and vote for reform type stuff, he never brings the topic up. The media bring it up. The hosts of the show bring it up because it's juicy and they know they've nobbled him. They know it's something he doesn't want to talk about. They know that there's no cohesion. The media are still pushing this fake narrative about Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson has Muslim friends. Tommy Robinson has black friends. Tommy Robinson has lots of people. But what Tommy has to do also is accept the fact that Zia Yusuf is not someone to worry about. Just like Tommy will be able to vouch for people who happen to be Muslim, who he knows that he would vouch for.
So, June, were you offended? Were you offended by Tommy Robinson? Because in this interview, he did say that he doesn't trust Reform UK on Islam. He says Nigel Farage has waved a white flag, and he did point to the fact that he doesn't trust Reform UK because they do now have, well, he's not chairman anymore, but a very senior figure in the party in Zia Yusuf.
I think he's on the wrong track there, if you want my honest opinion. Just because I like Tommy and I support him doesn't mean he's right about everything. And that's what people have to also digest. Neither is Nigel Farage. If I was Nigel Farage and I was being interviewed and a journalist started speaking, because it will be the journalist that brings it up, I'd just say, can we move on? Because they love to eat into the time they've got with him talking about that, because it doesn't give the party time to talk about what they're up to. As far as the Islamic situation is concerned, everybody rolls out that clip with Winston Marshall's show where he said, yes, we will lose, we will lose. That is a soundbite. People are making massive political decisions on a soundbite. If you want to know what it will be like going down the Rupert Lowe route, which is what a lot of people are jockeying for on the right, then expect to live like Northern Ireland for the next 10 years. Expect to have cordons in your street. Expect to have sporadic attacks, vehicles ploughing into restaurants, knife attacks. If you think you're having a lot now, I said all this 10 years ago with Brexit, when we first started seeing Charlie Hebdo and people were changing the profile picture. And I said, one day it'll become so frequent, you won't be bothered to change your profile picture. It'll just become news. What will happen, the next stage will become violent and horrid, just like when they tried to get that child out of a home in an ethnic community and take it into care. 24 hours of rioting, vehicles torched, buses turned over, people have to board the windows up. You will create that environment. And I wouldn't want to be the politician that creates that environment, especially when the politician, whoever he is, will be able to flit off back to the safety and security of a leafy suburb or a country estate or wherever they live. So Tommy is a fighter. And a lot of the, especially working class people, because we are the ones that's had to tolerate the vast demographic changes in our society, are right behind Tommy. And this.
And what about GB News overall, June? Because you're talking about Nigel Farage from a political point of view, right? Because of Reform UK, and he's worried about votes, and he's worried about the media branding him far right. But what about GB News? They have the most extreme people from the left on that channel all the time. But Katie Hopkins is banned, Carl Benjamin is banned, Tommy is banned.
I don't agree with it at all. I think Katie Hopkins and Tommy Robinson should be able to go on the People's Channel because they are supported by a large majority of people who watch that channel. Absolutely. I quite often share stuff about Katie. I do odd videos about her. I share a lot of Tommy's work. But getting back to the Farage rift, when people saying he allowed Shamama Begum, let's just clarify this. That is a sweeping statement that is completely inaccurate. Nigel's been misquoted there. It was about a topic that Sebastian Gorka brought up. And Nigel, because it was being talked about, Nigel Farage said there should be a discussion on this. He didn't support it. He was telling you that the government was compromised. He wasn't supporting it. It's been misunderstood. But GB News, that man, that Andy, he's made a shed load of mistakes. And what he said about Tommy Robinson is unforgivable. Never mind an apology. I think it's unforgivable.
I agree.
I try to be rational. People see it as, oh, I've swallowed the reform pill. No, I haven't. Not at all. In 2022, I was telling people not to pay any membership to Reform because I couldn't see them going anywhere. And now I can see them doing something. And the work is at the opposite end of you're looking at the big people, the Rupert Lowe's, the Ben Habibs, the ones that get on the telly. I'm looking at the council level people, the ordinary people, the volunteers, the people that are making a difference now. The only way you're going to break this tyranny up is by doing it from the bottom to the top. The top is 3-4 years away. And what we need an infrastructure of people that have been ensconced within local government so that all this Doge, because that's all Zia is employed for now, is to do this Doge.
Oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. He's pulling all those strings behind the scenes. He's basically chairman other than entitled, June. He's the power guy.
I totally disagree. Totally disagree. If that's the narrative you want to believe because of direct contact you'll have with people who don't like reform, then you believe it. What I see there is, I see Zia as a safety net. I think his background is a safety net. It's like saying, try and call us racist now. You can't. You look how they've clammed up. They've stopped it. There was, I can't remember her name, curly blonde hair off Channel 4. She's completely calmed it down. I don't, if that's what you're going to put out, then obviously people will think they've no chance with reform. They have to vote for somebody else where they think they have a chance. I'm not here to curry favour for reform. I have my own views on what I would do in an election. And I do think that, even now, even though we've got GB News, we've got citizen broadcasters, the bulk of this nation absolutely wind me up because they're completely clueless. They don't take any notice of anything. They're still watching the BBC and ITV and these people that start.
It is changing.
Every single thing with Tommy Robinson of EDL. Why don't we bring up Hugh, what was he called? That
Hugh Edwards.
pedo.
Hugh Edwards. Exactly. No one talks about the BBC, an organisation that basically covered for paedophiles throughout their entire careers. Jimmy Savile, Hugh Edwards being one. I mean, I completely agree. And also, we won't even get into the EDL discussion today. But the point is that the media is proven to be totally dishonest when it comes to Tommy Robinson.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.